Back when I was 13, I uploaded Let's Plays. I just record while gaming, cut the boring parts out, throw together a thumbnail and hit upload. Boom! Content online. I didn't overthink it, I just made stuff. And honestly, that did work. But when I tried to switch to short form content about game dev and personal development at 17, everything changed. Suddenly, content creation wasn't just record and upload. It required planning, reflection and actual creative direction. That's where I crashed. After just 8 months of consistent uploads, I was quitting. Because I had other projects going on and it got too much. Over the next 2 years I tried to start over with new channels and new ideas, but nothing ever sticked. I was playing around with the new content for a few weeks and then I got lost again. I was stuck in tutorial hell while my actual skills rotted. Sounds familiar? Whether you're trying to build a SaaS app, grow a YouTube channel or launch any side project while juggling your computer science degree, the pattern is the same. You either move fast and break things, or you plan forever and ship nothing. But here's what I discovered. There's actually a third way. A system that lets you build consistently without burning out or getting paralyzed by perfectionism. I call it the creation loop. And if you're a computer science student trying to make something meaningful happen before graduation, this might save your sanity. Most productivity advice treats projects like they're linear. Plan, execute, and you're done. But real creative projects, especially YouTube videos, are more like playing an RPG. You're constantly cycling between exploration, combat, leveling up, and upgrading your gear. The problem isn't that you're bad at execution, it's that you're trying to speedrun the final boss with starting equipment, which can work, as you can see in Breath of the Wild speedruns, so it also must work in real life. But I think the chances are pretty low that you will achieve something in real life with starting equipment. Let me show you what I mean with my own story. I had a bit of a trauma from my time doing short form content, as I just created content based on literally any idea I had. This meant that most of them weren't well researched and a lot of them didn't really connect with what I really wanted to be. So when I got back to creating content for this channel, I found myself in a bit of a rabbit hole, where once I started writing a script, I always needed to fact check and try to figure out if any of the concepts I was talking about were already established in science or in any other communities. This made it really hard for me to just finish a script. I was following the classic mistake of trying to make a perfect video. Now here's a cycle that helped me break through this perfection. Think of every creative project like a game with 4 phases that repeat. The first phase is planning, your quest selection screen in a way. Then you have execution. This is the active gameplay with your current skill set. Third, there's the analysis, where you check your XP and upgrade your skill tree. And fourth, there's the training, where you're trying to farm new resources and experience points for the next upgrade or dungeon. Let me walk you through how exactly this saved this channel. So let's go on with phase 1. The planning or quest selection. Instead of diving straight into script structure and video formats, I started with what I call reverse engineering with AI. I already know my long-term goals, so I was now focused on creating a mid-term goal. For that, I just said that ChatGPT is a content creator and it should help me create a content block consisting of 6 videos that will teach students with a side project how they can plan and execute their project efficiently. After 30 minutes, I had a plan that I found pretty cool and so I ran with it. I picked the first video idea and further drilled down on the video concept. In that case, I exactly knew how the results should look like. But if you're not so sure how your results should look like, you can just let the chatbot ask you questions. If you want to see in more detail how you can use this technique for your use case, you can watch this video of mine where I explain exactly that. Going through this process took me from I want to create videos consistently to I will create 6 videos explaining how computer science students can productively work on their side projects using the creation loop. Good planning isn't about predicting everything. It's about creating clear checkpoints so you know if you're moving towards or away from your goals. Which brings us to phase 2, the execution, or PTR. Here's where most people mess up. They try to learn and build simultaneously. It's like trying to study for an exam while also taking it. Instead, I use PTR, which stands for play, train, and rain. At play, you work only with the skills you already have. No tutorials watching during creation time. If you don't know how to do something and it will take you more than 5 minutes to figure it out, add it to your to-do list and work through it in your training session. For now, just find a workaround. When you're through your play sessions, it's time for training sessions, which are split into 3 different types. First, there's hard skill training in the short term. These are quick fixes for immediate bottlenecks. For example, if you're coding a project, this might be taking a look at how you can use the API a bit more efficiently to achieve your goal in a cheaper manner. Next, there's hard skill training for the long term. This is deeper learning for long-term improvement. So for example, if you work with Next.js on your front end, it might be valuable to just play around with it and learn it in a deeper way. And the third one is the soft skill training. This is deeper learning for long-term improvement that isn't directly linked to the quality of your product. This includes communication skills or the ability to think critically. I scheduled the training and play sessions on completely different days to separate them. I also explained why I do this in detail in this video about performance scheduling. Last but not least, there is RAIN, which stands for absolutely nothing, but it sounds cool, and after you've done your play and train session, you can feel as if you reign over your project. In one sentence, the magic happens when you separate creation from the learning process, and this is what PTR is good for. Instead of constant context switching, you get into flow in both states. For a more detailed explanation of PTR, you can check out this video where I talk extensively about PTR and how I use it for this YouTube channel. Then there's phase 3, the analysis, or leveling up your skill tree. Remember how games make feedback obvious? Real projects don't give you that. You have to build it for yourself. For that, I use 2 reflection tools. First, the work journal, where I write everything down that distracts me when I get stuck, frustrated, or anything else. I just go to this work journal and write to get back on track. At the end of each work session or work day, I ask myself 3 questions. What went well? What went wrong? And what will I try differently tomorrow? This makes patterns visible and allows you to readjust swiftly. I desperately needed this as I tend to repeat the same mistakes over and over again, and this helps me to try to fix them. Then the second reflection technique is the project retrospective. I do this after each video upload. I break down the entire process. What worked? Which parts of the production felt smooth and natural? What did not work? Where did I get stuck or frustrated? What's missing? What skills would have made this way easier? And then last, the user test. I actually watch my own videos as a viewer and just note down what I feel about the video. If you want to go into more detail, you can also reflect on each part of the process separately. In my case, this means that I look at the concept creation, the thumbnail creation, the script writing, the recording process, the editing process, and the uploading process, as well as writing down what worked and what did not work for these specific parts of the production. I also take a look at my analytics and try to understand how I can use them to improve my videos. This goes a bit deeper and it is definitely not necessary in the beginning. But once you know what you're optimizing for, it helps you to figure out what could be improved. Also, you can use AI chatbots together with your reflections to define next actions and areas of improvement. For that, just give the chatbot your reflections and give it the role of a coach. In my case specifically, this means that the chatbot has the role of a YouTube coach. Okay, you now know where you're standing, and now it's time to prepare you for the next challenge, which brings us to phase 4, training or leveling up. Here's where the separation of building and learning pays off. Instead of random tutorial consumption, my training is focused on specific bottlenecks I discovered during analysis. I collect all quick fixes in a to-do list and prioritize them. Then I work through them by priority. I schedule these training sessions week by week. This is how I ensure that I work on the new video with upgraded skills instead of trying to learn on the fly. The real test though comes during crunch time. I haven't gone through one of those times, so what I say now is just a recommendation of what I would do if I were in the situation right now. Instead of abandoning everything or just burning out, I adjust the time I invest in the different PTR sessions. I focus more on my play sessions, trying to get things done, And when I have time to train, I will focus on short-term hard skill training, as this leads to workflow improvements that will save me time for the next video production. Everything else comes second. Drop the soft skill training and even drop the hard skill training when there's no time left for them. Focusing on the production and making the production more efficient is the most effective use of your time when it comes to achieving your goals. But none of this matters if you can't implement these concepts. And implementing all of this at once is a lot. I developed this whole framework over the last 1.5 years and implemented it step by step. So I would recommend you to do the same. And here's how you can do it. Start just with the work journal. Write down your thoughts when you feel stuck, frustrated, or even happy while working. Just get your thoughts out. Then in the next step, before you start your project, ask AI to build a plan together with you. Let it ask you questions until you have a solid plan that you want to execute on. Now it's time to improve how you do stuff. And this is where you try to implement PTR. Define what you want to do during your sessions and how much time you want to spend on specific training sessions. I have a Google Sheet template for that down in the description. In the last step, you add the retrospective after each project's milestone. You ask yourself what worked, what did not work, which bottlenecks emerged, and what can you do differently next time. You're not in a rush, so take your time and just go with a pace that feels comfortable for you. If you want to see me walk through this entire process with a real project, from initial AI planning session to final retrospective, let me know in the comments. I will document the whole process. As always, keep building and good luck in reaching your goals. I'm out.